For generations, women suffered silently with few treatment options and fertility concerns. Today, 1 in 3 will be diagnosed with fibroids. 80% of women of African descent have fibroids. Our numbers are too great for this story to continue. Will you join me in creating a new story, a movement? Let's let the world know that we are empowered, resilient, and focused. Hi, I'm Sateria. I faced fibroids at the age of 26. Freedom from fibroids will mean that women around the world will no longer have to suffer. Let's create a global movement together. Welcome to Fibroid Awareness Month 2021. Our ambassadors are joining us. Oh my goodness. We would love for you to meet our ambassador team. We have 22 chapters around the country, and they're joining us now. You'll learn more about the work that they do and how we are striving to make a difference in your community. The map is really filling up. We also have ambassadors in Maryland, Kentucky, and South Carolina. You will meet many of our ambassadors today. Michelle Obama said, "There's power in allowing yourself to be known and heard, in owning your unique story, in using your authentic voice." We couldn't agree more. Don't allow fibroids to define who you are. Find strength in your voice and fulfill your dreams. You can do this because your voice is powerful.
Hey everybody, I'm Tracy, and I am the ambassador for the Fibroid Foundation Little Rock chapter. I became an ambassador because on November 1st, 2019, I was diagnosed with uterine fibroids. And upon receiving my diagnosis, and when attempting to ask questions from my healthcare provider, I was silenced. He literally shushed me. My voice was devalued and it was disregarded. So I met with multiple OBGYNs, just trying to find someone who would listen to my voice. Finally, in April of 2021, I met who I call my angel OBGYN, Dr. Gloria Richard Davis. I call her my angel for several reasons, but mainly she heard my voice. Also, she left me with my uterus and she made me fibroid free. I became the ambassador for the Fibroid Foundation Little Rock chapter because I want other women to know that their voices are powerful, just like my voice is powerful.
Welcome everyone to Your Voice is Powerful. I have the absolute pleasure today of speaking with Belinda Monroe, our Houston ambassador. Hi, Belinda.
Hi, Sateria.
We are so thrilled that you reached out and anchored down Houston as the lovely ambassador in Houston. And you have so many gifts to bring in addition to your story. You are an amazing singer and songwriter, and you have written a song called Dream. Can you tell us about the inspiration behind your song and just share with our listeners about your wonderful career in music?
Wow. Okay. Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Dream. Ooh, where do I start? So many of us have dreams, things that we want to accomplish in life, personally, with our careers, family, so many different things. I was posed with the question, can you write a song for the Paralympics? They're looking for a theme song. And I submitted this song. It came to me in my sleep, and I submitted it. And unfortunately, it didn't win as the song that they chose, but it was the runner up song. And I wrote that song back in 2002, I believe it was 2002. And I actually recorded it years later. And after going through so many things in my life that I had no clue and no idea that I would go through, it just felt so fitting. This song, when I was recording it, I actually cried in the studio when I was recording it, because it was like, here, here you are, you have a dream for something, and when you start seeing certain things start manifesting, it really takes you aback, and it really shines a light on having faith in going for your dreams, not giving up. You know, um, Dream is a song that's really near and dear to my heart. It's a song that holds so much. It holds an anchor in my heart. Um, I'm glad that you actually heard the song and you love the song. When I wrote it, I knew that it was going to be a song that would touch people, and that's what in my music, that's what I aspire to do all the time, is to make sure that I only not only have a message, but I also have a mission. So
That's beautiful, and that story touched me. And I find that learning. Well, for me, learning that the song came to you in a dream is ironic, but it's very touching too because it's divinely guided. I
absolutely,
remember when I was in college and I had a project that I had to design, and I didn't know what to do, and I would go to sleep and I would wake up and I would have it.
that's
And
right.
I think that there's it's just amazing, and it's so beautiful and it's so fitting, and I think it's going to resonate with a lot of people, and I think that those life lessons make that great music, right?
Yeah, absolutely,
um,
absolutely.
and I can't wait for everyone to hear it. And I'd like to kind of transition into your really powerful fibroid story. um, What was your first reaction when you were diagnosed with uterine fibroids?
I think my first reaction was, it was more of a kind of confused, um, sad, not knowing exactly what fibroids were. I didn't know what I was up against, and I didn't know what to expect. It was just, hey there, guess what? You have fibroids. And it was like, fibroids. And at that time, to me, it sounded like a big word. It sounded like, oh, it's the end of the world. What's going to happen? I had no clue as to what fibroids were. And I ended up having to do the research on my own
Mm-hmm.
as to what fibroids were, what happens to your body, what's going on, what's going to happen, you know, because when I was diagnosed with fibroids, it came from a doctor who basically gave up on me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, hey, you have fibroids. And if you have heavy bleeding, you have this, you have that, the best thing to do is just, you know, get rid of your womb. Have a hysterectomy. That will ease all your worries, all your pain. That will take care of the problem. And I went home and I told my mom. And my mom said to me, well, did you ask him any questions? Did you ask him if he would take the engine out of his car? And I was just like, huh? So my mom sat with me and she was explaining to me, she's like, having a hysterectomy is like taking the engine out of your vehicle. You don't want to take the engine out of you. You know, that is one doctor's opinion. It's not the end of the world because you have fibroids. So many people have fibroids. And that's what she told me. And she's like, you know, my mom's a registered nurse, and she sat with me and she's like, okay, let me explain to you what fibroids is. And not only did she do that, but my mom, she prayed with me. I have a praying mother, and I come from a family of faith. The reason why I sing today is because of my mom. When she was 16, she prayed if she ever had a daughter, she prayed her daughter could sing. And at 3, I was on stage and singing.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
It
when my mom said to me, "Hey, fibroids is not the end of the world. I am going to see my grandchildren." She said that. And I said, "Okay, well, let's see what we need to do to take care of these fibroids without removing my womb."
I want to highlight quite a few things that you mentioned, because the fear around an initial diagnosis and the largeness of the word fibroid and not knowing what that means is, I felt the same way. And
Yeah,
I know that so many people do when they're diagnosed. And the response from your healthcare provider is disconcerting because you were dismissed.
yeah,
And now we are talking more frequently about health disparities and health equity. And what you and I both experienced was um, a dismissiveness that should not happen to anyone. Um, our bodies should be really appreciated, and it's a very personal process to be diagnosed with something, and there should be a much higher level of compassion than what you and I
absolutely.
experienced. So
Absolutely.
you were blessed to have your mother there. She seems like a guiding angel throughout this process. And so after the diagnosis, can you walk us through your fibroid journey or anything that you would like to share?
Absolutely. Wow. So that was probably early 2000. And I was on the road touring for from 2001 until about, I would say, 2016. I was on the road touring as a musician, singing backgrounds for different artists. And I noticed that I started to gain weight. I started
Mhm.
to gain a lot of weight. I started having mood swings. There were so many things that were happening in my body that I didn't know exactly how to deal with it, and I didn't know what was going on. I started going through depression. I didn't want to be on stage. I didn't like the way I looked. I didn't like the way my clothes looked on me. And I started to kind of shy away from taking center stage and more towards being in the background, just writing music for people and not performing myself, and allowing somebody else. If I got a gig, I'd call up a friend and say, "Hey, I can't make this gig. Can you do this gig instead for me?" Because I really didn't want to be on stage. I didn't like the excessive weight gain that I had gained. I didn't like the way I felt. I even felt like my voice sounded different, and you know, I wasn't my true self. And I went back to another doctor, and this doctor told me, "Hey, your fibroids are growing, and we need to see how we can get them out." So they did a hysteroscopy, and they weren't large at the time, the ones that they saw. So they did a hysteroscopy and they took the small ones out. And that was in 2014. I've had 14, 16, 18, and 24 surgeries already in 2014, 2016, 2018, and 2020. And you know, it's something that they said I would have to live with and deal with. They do come back, they do grow back. Um, but one thing that I think really resonated with me was fast forward to 2017, when my husband and I moved to Houston. we wanted to start our family. And I was told that I wouldn't be able to have children naturally. And we started to see a fertility specialist. And again, the dismissiveness came in right away. Oh, so you're 38 and you haven't had any children yet. Oh, and you have fibroids. Oh no, you won't be able to have any children naturally. So let's get you on this plan, a fertility plan, and let's start IVF. So my husband and I talked about it, and we said, okay, let's see, let's freeze our egg. Let me freeze my eggs, and let's see what can happen. Let's go on this journey. That led me down a whole nother path of depression. And it was extremely hard because my husband and I were newlyweds, and he's also a musician and a touring musician. We moved to a new state. I'm at home, he's on the road touring, and I'm having to shoot up myself with these drugs and for IVF, and I'm by myself in a new place. And the depression really set in.
I can imagine.
It was difficult, and I felt like I had nobody to turn to and nobody to talk to. Even if I tried to turn and talk to the doctor, his main thing was, that's your only option. This is all you can do, either that or hysterectomy, either IVF or just give up on trying to have children or adopt and that's what I was always faced with. And I started to, in that time that I had by myself, I started to write. And that's my solace, is writing. And I started to write, and things just started to come to me. Don't give up. It's not impossible. Write the vision, make it plain. What are the things that you want? You want to be a mother. You want to be a mother. I am a mom. And I started speaking those positive affirmations into myself. And I
I
said, you know
believe in
what?
affirmations.
Yeah, you have to. You
Yeah.
have to speak it. Every morning I speak positive affirmations.
Mhm.
Words are powerful. They're our biggest asset. Our words. Our voice is our biggest asset. Every day we use our voice. And I made a post this morning and I talked about that. Every day we use our voices, either negatively, positively, whatever it is, we use our voices to communicate. That's our form of communication. And we have to learn how to use those words, because there's
Yeah.
power in your words. And we have to learn how to use those words to our advantage, to speak what it is that we want, and to know, okay, when I put it in the atmosphere, it's going to happen. It may not happen in the time that I want it to happen, but I know that my words have power and my words are effective. So I put my words down on paper and I started to speak them out loud. I started to read out of the book. Everything that I had written, I started to read it out loud every single day. And I told my husband, we're going to stop this IVF altogether, because this is not what we came here to do. This is not the plan. We're going to stop it. And we stopped it. I got pregnant, unbeknownst to us. I didn't even know I was pregnant. In the end of 2017, I was pregnant.
Wow.
And February 2018, marriage. That was, I think, one of the most traumatic times of my life. But at the same time, it was truly a blessing, because I met my OBGYN. And she said to me, Belinda, who told you that you could not get pregnant? Who put that in you? You know, what we're going to do here is we're going to change the mindset. We're going to change everything from the top of your head all the way through your body, because what you think, what you ingest, what you say how you feel, everything affects you internally. All the external factors
So
affect you
true.
internally. So she
Mhm.
said, what happened was the baby that was inside of me was growing and fighting with the fibroids inside of me. And in that tussle, that the fighting against the fibroids, the baby couldn't grow. So that's how I lost the baby.
So
She
sorry for
said,
that.
I know it was a hard thing to swallow, knowing that I'm told for so many months and so many years, I can't have any kids naturally. And here is my child growing inside of me naturally. And then to lose it in February of 2018. And my doctor said, Belinda, what we're going to do, we're going to go in and we're going to do, um, we had a myomectomy. She said, we're going to
Okay.
do a myomectomy and we're going to clean out everything that's there. We're going to get all those fibroids. I had
Mhm.
12. Originally, she saw 8. There were 4 more in there. And she went in, we got every single fibroid out that she could get. The healing process for that was, it was
Intense.
something. It was very, very
Yeah.
intense.
A myomectomy is not an easy surgery to recover from.
It really isn't. And I
Mhm.
had no idea going in that it was going to be like that. My husband was like, oh, okay, we're just going to go in. It's going to be in, out.
Mhm.
I'll leave for tour 2 days after you come out and
Mhm.
you should be fine. All that came to an end.
Yeah.
That
And
was changed because
I
I
think it's
stayed in the
amazing
hospital.
that you
No, go
have,
ahead.
I think it's amazing that you have such a wonderful partner in your husband.
He's
There's
he's
tremendous
amazing.
power in that too.
He's
And
amazing. He's amazing.
yeah, that's I love to hear that. And, because with a lot of the emotional struggles that we have throughout these diagnoses, having a supportive partner means everything.
It
And if you
does.
don't have one, it can really affect, you know, so many aspects of your experience.
It really can. Um, he's amazing. I don't even know where to start with him.
I love that.
He showed his true love for me in the midst of all of this.
Wonderful.
He flew out to Canada. I was having my very first surgery I had in
Mhm.
Canada, and he left tour and flew out to Canada to be with me during that surgery to make sure that I knew he was there. We weren't even married at the time.
Wow.
And he just wanted me to know that he's there for me regardless, whatever. We got engaged like a few days after that surgery. He stayed in Canada and we
That's
got engaged. And he was
beautiful.
just like, whatever it is, I am going to climb every mountain and go through every valley with you.
That is
You know,
so awesome.
and I knew that this was the one. Like I knew he was the one. The fact that he would put me over his job, he would put me over
Mhm.
whatever it was to make sure that I was okay and I felt his presence.
Mhm.
Anytime I was going in for a surgery, he's always been there.
Wonderful. And so after that, after the myomectomy, how are you feeling and what happened after that?
After the myomectomy, she said that was in 2018, April of 2018, I had the myomectomy. And my doctor said, Belinda, we're going to see, let's see what happens. She said, I feel that the reason why you had this miscarriage is because of the fibroids. Let's take them out. Let's see what happens. Let's give yourself some months and see what happens. And October of 2018, I got pregnant with my son, Kingston.
Wonderful.
My
Lovely.
miracle, my rainbow, my ray of hope,
Oh
my
my
everything.
goodness. And
Yeah,
doesn't he have a story that brought him here?
that's right. He
That's
sure
just
does.
incredible. And the power of your voice. I wrote down your quote, your voice is your biggest asset.
Yeah,
That is so incredibly true.
yeah.
And I think you live that in so many ways. And I know that everyone listening is going to be affirmed by your message and by your really powerful story. And I'm so happy for you,
Thank you. Thank
because
you.
that's just such a blessing. And, um, you have your little man there that is now here. And, you, and, there've been some really tough times, but with your voice and your fortitude and your faith, you are standing tall. And
Absolutely.
we are here to support you. And I hope that if there are those listening in the Houston area, that they will reach out on social media through the Houston Fibroid Foundation platform to be able to connect with you, because the more that we support one another, the stronger we'll be as a community and individually.
That's right.
So, Belinda, thank you so much for sharing all that you bring,
Thank you.
the talent, the faith, the power of your voice. It's just such a pleasure to have an opportunity to speak with you today and to hear about your journey. And I'm looking forward to working with you to see help other women through their journeys as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Francesca Kelly, and I am a very proud ambassador for the Fibroid Foundation Las Vegas, Nevada chapter. I was diagnosed with fibroids at the age of 21, and the reason why I became an ambassador is because I wanted to help other women in my community who were suffering from fibroids and other menstrual-related disorders find their voice. And just like their voice, my voice is powerful.
Life is a vision, it's what you make it. Even when things don't go your way, don't get discouraged, don't ever give up. You'll make it through, you'll find your way. Just follow your heart and listen to your voice. Within your soul there lies the answers that you need. If you just reach within your heart, you will find all the strength that you need. Just believe. Dream a dream, mountains you can climb. Reach, reach, whatever you desire. When you feel your life turning inside out, spread your wings like eagles and fly. Follow your vision, don't let it die now. You've come too far to turn around. Yes, you will struggle, don't ever give in. If you don't quit, you know you will win. Just follow your heart, listen to your voice. Within your soul there lies all that you need. If you just reach within your heart, you will find all the strength that you need. When you
Our next guest is going to talk about why her voice is powerful. I'd like to introduce you to Deanna, who is our ambassador in Chicago. Deanna, how are you today?
Great, great. Thank you so much for having me on this segment.
Thank you for being here. I know that you have quite a powerful fibroid story, and so I'd like to start off with that. Would you please share with our listeners some background on your own very powerful and personal fibroid story?
Yes. Well, my fibroid story begins with infertility. Um, I was fertility issues for a number of years, and finally, I decided I was going to go get myself examined and see what was going on with my body. Um, I've always, had a heavy period also. Um, And so, when I went to the doctor, they did all these exams, they prodded, they poked, and in the end, they said, well, you're having some fertility issues, but you also have fibroids. And you know, after the procedures that were done on me, I asked, well, you know, do these fibroids, do I need to get them out? And they were like, no, don't worry about them. They're too small, you know. And right now, there's nothing to be done about them. So I wasn't, referred to anyone. And I also wasn't, I wasn't told, like, okay, well, come back in 6 months and let's see, what's going on with these fibroids, if they're getting bigger. So it was one of those things where, okay, if the doctor doesn't think it's a big deal, then I don't think it's a big deal.
Of
Um,
course.
and coming from the Mexican culture that I come from, if you're a doctor, you know, the doctor's the expert, not you. You're not. I was never taught to question or medically advocate for myself. That's not something that you know that just was done in my family.
And I
So,
think that's a common thread
um,
too.
I didn't question it.
Hmm.
I didn't question it, and up until that point, I think I was about 33. I had never even heard of a fibroid. Not even I didn't have like language for it in either English or Spanish. So it was something that, I never heard my mom or the rest of my family and friends. It wasn't something that was talked about. So I was like, okay, well, must not be a big deal. So some time passed, and what ends up happening is, you know, I noticed that my periods are getting heavier, and during my menstrual cycle, I just started bloating up. And it wasn't
Mm.
like, oh, it's just a little bloat. It was like an extreme bloat. And it was embarrassing for me, especially at work, because, people be like, oh, are you pregnant? And of course, after getting bad news that I wouldn't be able to have children, I was like, no, and someone even went so far as to touch my stomach without my
Oh no.
consent at work,
Mm.
and that felt like super traumatic.
I guess
But
so.
also the heavy periods, what I noticed about them was they were changing. They were getting heavier, and also I've had to buy more you know menstrual cycle products. Um, and I was always worried at meetings. Oh my God, am I going to have an accident here at this meeting? Because I felt like every 45
Mm.
minutes, my pads had to be changed. Um, but again, you know, I didn't question it, or maybe I was in denial. And even when I went to the doctor's office and we kind of talked about it a little bit, the doctors were like, yeah, millions of women have fibroids, it's not a big deal. And again, that's another instance where I didn't medically advocate for myself. I didn't know what questions to ask. I just didn't have the knowledge to say, okay, you know what? There's something really wrong with me. Something is going on within my body. but I don't know how to, uh, you know, advocate for myself.
And I think
So
that
what I,
probably happened for a number of reasons because one, you were in autopilot dealing with the stress of having to, experience your symptoms at work. And then two, like you said, you thought that your doctor was the expert. And if there were something to be concerned about, they would have told you. So I think that your story thus far is really helping a lot of people because so many of us are really challenged with those same types of circumstances and are not sure what to do, but it is so common. So many of us feel that way. So it's wonderful that you're sharing that. Sorry, I interrupted.
no, not at all, not at all. Thank you for for your insights on that. You know, in 2016, or I'm sorry, 2015. Uh, I was still having the same symptoms. I was still in denial, and a moment came where you know I was getting more bloated, and my period didn't come. And I was like, okay, that's very strange. I don't know what's
Mhm.
going on here. Um, you know, and at work, of course, this one lady, she's like, "Oh, are you pregnant, or did you have your baby already?" So I was like, "Okay, please stop." you, I can't have kids. But apparently, I went to the doctor. I remember it was a Saturday. It was my mom's birthday, and I went to the doctor, and the doctor's like, "Okay, well, what we're going to do is we're going to give you a pregnancy test." And I told her, "No, no, no need for the pregnancy test. I've already been
Mhm.
to the doctor. We've already discussed that I have fertility issues and I can't have kids." So what ends up happening is, she's like, "Well, then we can't treat you." So then I was like, "Okay." So then I went, and then she came back and she's like, "You're pregnant." And I was like, "No, no, I'm not."
Wow.
And she's like, "No, yes, you are." And then I explained to her that they needed to take the test again because there's no way that I could be pregnant.
Mhm.
But I was. And what ends up happening is, they do the blood test. I end up pregnant, and then they refer me over to another doctor because that day I had gone to the urgent care. And so I
Mhm.
made my appointment. I was in shock at this point
I
after
guess
15
so.
years of trying, after 15 years of trying to get pregnant. Um, but what ends up happening is that when I walk through the door of this particular doctor's office, she looks at me and she's like, "Oh, you must be like 4 or 5 months pregnant." And I was like, "No." Here's the paperwork from the other doctor. So then at that point, she's like, "Okay, we need to run some tests because I feel like something is not right with what's happening. Yeah, I know you're pregnant, but there's something else going on with your body."
Mhm.
And that was the first time that a medical professional was like, "Something's going on. We need to see because I was too big for the time frame. It was only like maybe 2 months, and I already looked like I
Wow.
was 4 months pregnant. So what ends
Okay.
up happening is that she runs some tests, and she's like, "Oh, well, apparently your baby has a roommate. She's got a fibroid living
Okay.
next to her, which makes your pregnancy a high risk pregnancy." And what ends up happening, throughout the progressing months is that along with my child, this fibroid decides that it's going to get enormous.
Yeah.
So, flash forward to the day of the delivery. Um, I'm told, "Okay, well, we're going to get the baby out, and we're going to." So they needed to do a C-section. So they're like, "We're going to do the C-section. We're going to get the baby out. Going to stitch you up. But then in a few months, you got to come back and we have to figure out what we're going to do with that giant fibroid that's living in your body right now."
Mhm.
And what ends up happening, I go through the C-section process, but unfortunately, because of the fibroid, things do not go as planned. What ends up happening is they get the baby out, they get the placenta out. They get the 5 pound fibroid. Mind you, my
Wow.
child was 6 pounds when she was born. And then they're like, okay, well, something is wrong. We have taken all these things out, and she's bleeding out. What are we going to do? So what ends up
Um,
happening is I end up getting an emergency hysterectomy. And by this time I have to be resuscitated and all that good stuff.
oh
Uh,
my God.
the, the good news is I'm still here, and I have a beautiful
Yes,
5 year
that
old to
is the
show
good
for
news.
it. Um, but this is one of the reasons I wanted to tell my story for
Mhm.
others, because it's important for all women to have equitable access to
Mhm.
quality medical care. Um,
Exactly.
it's something that's important to me because I don't want any woman to go through this. It was a
Mhm.
very difficult time in my life, um, because
I,
after having all of this done to my body, I was sent home with a new baby. I didn't have the also the mental health support that comes with having a new baby and having post traumatic stress from something that has happened,
Mhm.
to the body. So I am still on my healing journey, but as part of that healing journey is to use my voice to participate and have this kind of conversation, with all women. If they think that there's something wrong with them, their body, they
Mhm.
need to really advocate for themselves medically.
That is so. I have goosebumps. I really appreciate you sharing your story with us, and hope that now that you are a part of our community, we can just further embrace you with love to be able to provide that support, because so many of us struggle with emotional, I want to say maybe side effects of that really go hand in hand with fibroid diagnosis, let alone a traumatic surgery. And I'm so happy that you and your daughter survived that surgery and that you're here with us now. And people need support when they leave the hospital just from a normal C-section, let alone having to go through a major surgery at the time that they're giving birth, and then care for not only a little one but themselves as well. So I'm sending you a virtual hug because I know that was quite a lot to endure. And as you were talking, I think you shared many things that our listeners can take away: the importance of receiving care, the importance of asking questions if you have them and the provider is not answering your questions, to seek another provider, and lastly, if you are experiencing the growth of a fibroid or any other complications while pregnant, ideally you should be seen by a reproductive endocrinologist who specializes in fertility and fibroids. But if you don't have access to a reproductive endocrinologist, seeking a fibroid specialist. And I'm just blown away by your story, Deanna. That is just incredible. And I can say I do believe that it will, things will continue to evolve and get better. And we're absolutely here for you. And I already see your strength in what you shared with us, and the fact that you're here, and the fact that you're, interested in giving back. That speaks volumes. And I know another way that you'd like to give back is particularly to the Latina community. I think a lot about the data that we have on uterine fibroids, and oftentimes white women and women of African descent are a part of the study where we have data there, but we don't have significant data from the Latina community, the Asian community, and other maybe indigenous communities who all suffer too with uterine fibroids. So can you speak? I'm so excited, really, because this has been a focal point of ours to really try to include all communities who are affected by uterine fibroids. So can you share a little bit about how you'd like to help to inform the Latina community, and just, the stigma that may exist there, and just provide some words from the heart where that's concerned?
I think in terms of the Latina community, there's still many things that we don't discuss. Definitely, fibroids is one of them, um,
Hmm.
and infertility. I think because the two I think can go hand in hand. Um, but definitely, there is some stigma around maybe speaking about fibroids. As I mentioned earlier, I didn't have, language for fibroid. Not in English, not in Spanish. It was a word I learned that word when I was 33. That's nuts. This is something that I should have known like years before, but I didn't. I just simply didn't have access to the information. And I think what happens in the Latina community is there's kind of a silence around fibroids. Nobody really wants to maybe talk about it or deal with it. It seems like from my observation, it's a very private thing. What I'm trying to do is just have a conversation around it and provide education around it. I really wish I had known about the Fibroid Foundation years ago. It would have been a tremendous help to me prior to all that chaos that happened around my 5-pound fibroid named Fred. Uh, it would have been tremendous because I didn't know what questions to ask.
Hmm.
I didn't really have anyone, whether it was at work, whether it was, my friendships, or even within my own family that I felt comfortable saying like, hey, I think there's something wrong with me. I'm getting these heavy periods. My body is kind of bloating up during my menstrual cycle in a way that I don't think is normal. So I just want other Latinas that if they are experiencing this, you're not alone, but you do have to use your voice. Your voice is powerful. Your voice is the best advocate for you, especially in medical situations. You need to be able to advocate for yourself because if you don't, you might experience being medically bullied. So again, your voice is powerful. Tu voz es tu poder. Uh, is what I wanted to say on that.
That is beautiful. And I too had never heard the word fibroid. And I think that is another common thread. So be gentle with yourself where that's concerned, because we're not medical professionals, most of us, and these terms are completely new, and they weren't discussed within my family either, despite the fact that I was aware of many generations of women in my family experiencing heavy menstrual bleeding and, horrific cramping and other bad symptoms. So I echo your last comments that your voice is incredibly powerful. And it's been such an honor to speak with you today. And I'm so looking forward to working with you to reach other women in all communities. And just, I think that you've provided a lot of hope today, Deanna. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm excited to be here and I'm excited to support the Fibroid Foundation because you're doing a great job providing, others that might have fibroids or are on their fibroid journey with the tools they need to not feel so alone and to be able to advocate for themselves. And also the important work that the foundation does around advocacy for research on fibroids. I
Yeah.
think that's another really important part of the collective fibroid journey for millions of women. So that there is the data, that there is the investment in fibroid research, so we can come
Mhm.
closer to understanding why they develop, and maybe have enhanced procedures so that women don't have to go through uh, intense experiences with their fibroids.
Absolutely. And I can't think of a better note to close on. So, again, thank you so much. And this concludes our segment. And with Deanna, thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
I can remember a couple of years ago, 2015, when I started feeling sluggish. I had no energy despite sleeping 9, 10 hours. I remember I started having excruciating pain, nausea, all the above, and I honestly thought it was just because I was getting older. I went through 3 doctors until I found out that actually it was fibroids. And fibroids have truly taken over my life. They affected my work, they affected my personal life, they affected my time with friends and family, and it was just a miserable time. It affected my health. But despite having to go to doctor after doctor, I didn't want to give up. I knew my health was important, and if no one else was going to speak up for me, I had to speak up for myself. And so I finally found the doctor that listened to me, that heard me, and gave me options, which is something no one else had ever done. And I ended up making a decision that was right for me, and now today I am fibroid free. And if I had not used my voice, then this day would not have come. So I want to tell you that my voice is powerful.
Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad to introduce Cassandra, who is our first ambassador. Oh my God, it's so good to see you.
Hi, so good to see you. I miss
I
your face.
remember when you first reached out to me, because then it was only me. And we had lots of volunteers helping with the Fibroid Talk New York event, but you were our first official ambassador, and it was just such an honor to have you reach out to the organization. What made you make that step to decide that you wanted to add your voice to the fibroid and menstrual health journey and movement?
Well, so just a little bit of background. I had just recently recovered from surgery. Back in 2015, I had a myomectomy. And, during the process, because it seemed as though the onset, or there was just rapid fibroid growth in that year. My family's had fibroids. I've always monitored them throughout my entire life, but I was just at a point in my life, I wasn't sure if it was stress, but it seemed as though surgery was imminent. So read books, Googled everything to death, just looking for information, just looking for people's experiences. What are the best treatments? Can I do this naturally? Do I have to have surgery? Surgeries, for me at least, is a last resort. And I just wasn't finding answers. And then there's the post, right? So once I recovered, just wanted to be able to take my lessons learned and help others, but there wasn't a funnel to do that. So I combed the internet. I even contacted what I thought was a fibroid group, and no response. You'd be surprised how many, you'd think that almost, I don't know what the stats are exactly, you can correct me, how many women are affected by this and how little information was available. And then I found you, and you welcomed me with open arms, which was amazing because there was just little access to information and communication to share best practices with. And, the women in my family have dealt or managed treatment in many different ways, hysterectomies, teas, just letting them grow. And I wasn't sure what was the right path for me. And, being able to take my experience and help someone else was what I was, looking to do. If I can, and that's my philosophy in life. If I can help someone else, then that's what I want to do. And then you started the Fibroid Foundation, which was wonderful, and it just kicked off. And yes, you were one person, a dot, and it grew into this wonderful, or organically wonderful beast, really.
Oh my God. Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you. You were such a bright light for me, because when you realize that you've reached someone or been able to provide some help to someone, it's just the favorite part of of advocacy for me. And then getting to know you was such a delight too. So for our listeners don't know, but you have a very demanding job. And it was just amazing to me, that you would carve out time in a super busy day to go and like check out the venue site and do so many things, and then write like detailed notes back on what you thought needed to happen. And it was really transformative for me in kind of seeing what we could build with a community.
Mhm.
And you really, you may not know how much you inspired me to really push forward and try to create community events more frequently, and
Mhm.
to make sure that the New York City Fibroid Talk was as best as it could be at the level that we were at that time in terms of capabilities and funding to be able to support events. But that was really the starting point, Cassandra, and I am so grateful to you for that.
I'm happy to have been able to be a part of something, in its infancy, and to help it grow. And in a city like New York City, right? So
Mhm.
many people. Um, it's a big landscape to manage, and one, being able to just meet you, Satira, and talk to you as a woman, as an individual. We have a lot in common just personally. So you're a wonderful human being. I'm happy to have you in my life. That was great.
Likewise.
Chemistry was fantastic. And then to be able to reach people and get them interested and have them gather. I'm thinking about our first formal event where we're looking for venues, looking for speakers, and just essentially just reaching out to the world, right? Just saying, hey, we're here. If you want to talk and you have something to say, we have information to share. Um, it was very well attended, very well done. It was absolutely um, super professional, very informative. Many of the attendees that I invited came away with so much, and I look forward to more events like that. I mean, yes, we had the pandemic, and that put a pause on a lot of in person interaction, but just being able to, at the start, right, the inception of an event, it was very humbling to see how many people were looking for the information as well, right? So we were a lot of folks, and it was great.
And I appreciate that so much. And, I think you bring up a very good point, which is the friendships that develop
Mhm.
in the community, because, jumping on the train and going to New York was just fun for me. It was really a joy to come see you and plan and spend time. But we got sisterhood time too, and which was, really important. And I think that that's a wonderful point to emphasize, because within our community, yes, we're advocating for health resources, but there are always what I call lemonade amongst the lemons, where we can find a lot of bright spots. And so um, being able to build a friendship with you has definitely been a super bright spot amongst this whole journey. And I'm so grateful for you for again carving out your day to let everyone know, and share your journey, and emphasizing how powerful each of us is in terms of our voice,
Mhm.
and what we can contribute, and what we can accomplish, and what we can accomplish together. So um, Cassandra, I can't wait to see you again. It's been too long. But when I'm in New York again, I will definitely reach out, and I wish you the most amazing day. And thanks so much for joining us today, and sharing your story.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Anytime.
We all have a fibroid story. My story started at the age of 26 and was followed by 4 fibroid surgeries. And what I learned from that experience and from starting a global organization is that my voice has tremendous power. And what I'd like to leave with you today is that your voice has power too.